the video on.
Sounds good.
What's up, guys? You got us?
Yep, we're ready to go.
Okay. Hey, real quick, added 5 good players today. I'll go through these guys real quick, starting with Larry Borum from Missouri. Just a versatile, big, powerful guy. Really transformed his body this spring when you look at it. Moves really well on tape for his size. And, you know, he lost a lot of weight through the spring process. And at his pro day, we thought he moved around really well. That gives us confidence, really, that his best football is ahead of him. He can play tackle. He can play guard. So there's some versatility with him. Next, with Khalil Herbert from running back from Virginia Tech, explosive, fast, versatile. Also provides a lot of value on special teams. That was kind of a theme for us in that area of the draft. A good kick returner. Daz Newsome, receiver, punt returner from North Carolina. Extremely productive slot receiver. Also a good punt returner. We spent a lot of time watching the tape on Dyami Brown, and you kept noticing this player too. So, again, we're excited about his ability as a punt returner and just a lot of production in that area, along with him being a good receiver. Thomas Graham, corner nickel from Oregon, just versatile corner. He can play outside. He can play inside. You know, he opted out this year, but really stood out in the Senior Bowl. We really like his competitiveness, his energy, kind of the spark that he has. Really like his ball skills. And last with the Cyrus Tonga, nose tackle, defensive tackle from BYU, just a powerful run stopper, gives us a lot of size inside. We love his makeup. He can push the pocket. He's got a knack for batting passes down at the line of scrimmage. When you looked at our whole front board, he really led all that group in batted passes over the last 3 years. Just a natural fit with our defense with Tonga. And I would just say this, guys, before the question, just really proud of our scouts and coaches. And I want to mention Josh Lucas and Champ Kelly, Mark Sadowski, Jeff King, all of our college scouts, all of our pro scouts. So much goes into this. Our trainers, our doctors, even Soup Campbell, Carla Suber, who helped us a ton with our interviews. Just really proud of our whole group, really how connected we are. It starts with Matt and I sharing the same vision and all of us being connected and then attacking this together. So really excited about this draft class. We're working through free agency as we speak. That's a big part of it. We're excited about where we are on that right now. And just fired up about this whole thing. So with that, I'll pass it to Matt.
Yeah, well, first of all, start off, it's good seeing everybody. It's crazy and amazing how all this time that Ryan and his personnel, how much time and effort they put into getting to this point that we're at right now. And in 3 days, it's over. And, for me, being involved and just kind of seeing everything and being a part of what we discuss and these meetings that we have, there's so much that goes into it. And the appreciation that I have for these guys, I was joking with Ryan the other day. I mean, this guy, he has not taken a day off for like literally 6 months. I mean, it's not every day he's in here early in the morning till late at night, just grinding on film, watching tape, all of his guys communicating with each other. And, we end up getting hopefully seven wonderful players. And the collaboration that he asks for from us, the communication, the unity that we have from the coaches is pretty cool. And so we put it all together and we never know how it's going to go, but this is where we're at. And so I want to thank those guys as well on the personnel side, Ryan, Joey Lane, et cetera, for everything that they do. It's a fun time. And here we are. So we know that now it's always about drafting and developing. And we now have drafted, and now it's our job as coaches to develop. And I think that's what is really neat from my end of it, is to be able to really share the moment with our staff and say, now it's our job to make sure that we develop these players and make our team better.
First question, Pat Finley.
Matt, if I would have told you 3 days ago that you would have wound up with the top 2 picks that you wound up with, what would you have thought? And you mentioned Ryan working hard, but what's your evaluation of his draft?
Yeah, no, well, you never know because there's just so many different ways that these picks could go. I think from my memory of being in this league, I can't remember it being this fascinating of a time, especially in particular that first round, not knowing who's going to take what or do what. And, you know, Ryan's greatest strength is really being able to go through a bunch of what ifs and play different scenarios out. I always joke with them, you know, it's similar to when you're in a game, you got to try to, the week prior to the game, play out different situations and calls that you're going to make and what are you going to do in this situation or that situation so you're prepared. And so it was hard to predict what was going to happen, but you all saw what we did and, what came from it. And we feel really, really good about it. We're super excited about the players that we got in this entire draft. And now the excitement now turns to just a lot of focus and shift to us as coaches and these guys as players to now make it happen, make it work. And that's where I think the commitment that we all have to one another is, hey, we're in a great spot right now. Let's us as coaches work to their strengths and do everything we can to make this a winning football team.
Dan Wiederer.
Matt, first, can you take us inside that draft room on Thursday night as those 90 minutes are unfolding and obviously other people in that room are making calls and just kind of your emotions and your mood and trying to figure out if you were going to get the guy you wanted? Yeah,
again, the emotions are just, I wish everybody could kind of experience it at one time in their life because it's different. It's a good different and just not knowing where things are going to go and all these different scenarios that we have and that we plan out, knowing if it's going to come to fruition or not. And literally, as you guys can probably guess, I mean, it's up until, almost the minute sometimes of whether or not something happens. And again, credit to Ryan and to Joey Lane and just watching them work those phones and listen to different opportunities that we could have and different scenarios that play in front of us. And that's where I think for us, we work really well together because we try to communicate. And so the excitement was there. And then, when you're able to get a player like Justin Fields in the first round, obviously we were super pumped. And we feel like, we know that when you have a good feeling like that, you can just feel the energy in the room. You can feel the energy from each person. And that's really ultimately what it's all about.
You talk all the time about a touchdown to check down mentality with your quarterbacks. I'm curious your assessment of Justin from the mindset standpoint of that, and also just what you think of the deep ball he throws, because obviously that's a strength of his.
It is a strength of his. And maybe with him, we got to go touchdown to touchdown mentality, get some of that, I think that's where that needs to go. And with all of our quarterbacks. So, but I think you're hitting to the point of what one of his strengths is that you see that he does at Ohio State, and just so much credit. I want to give credit myself too to Ryan Day, who was just, really great in the communication part with us. With Ryan and I, and then just the relationship that we had going back to our playing days. And I just know that he was really well coached at Ohio State. Ryan and I talked about that. And now it's our job to develop him. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've taken into this thing is there will be a plan with Justin and with Andy and with Nick and just how we go about this. And I think that's going to be very, very important is that we understand it. Now, fortunately for myself, Ryan and I have had a bunch of discussions and just talking through scenarios. And as everybody has talked about, I went through that in 2017. So is it going to be the same thing? I don't know, but at least we have some type of blueprint to at least work off of and be able to just kind of use that to start and see where it goes.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Matt, I know you talked about how excited you were to go through the scouting process with these quarterbacks. Can you walk us through maybe when Justin first got on your radar and then being at that pro day, some of the things that really stood out to you, just how it got to the point where he became the guy that you kind of coveted?
Well, it's for myself, as I was going through last year just on a phone conversation, just talking with Coach Day at Ohio State. We were going through a bunch of different players, just talking about different guys that he has. And towards the end of it, we discussed Justin, and he brought up, he mentioned that, man, this kid is absolutely, he's a generational talent, and it just stuck with me. Generational player. And when you hear that, those are strong words, but you understand the respect I have for him and what that means. And so, Ryan and I told that story to Ryan last year. And so we've been keeping our eye on him, and as all these different positions and players throughout the league. But we get to the point to where we're at here at the end of the season, and Ryan sits down with me and we just talk through where we're at and where we're at moving forward. And we looked at it together like, hey, let's go about this, and let's evaluate these quarterbacks as we go through this process. Let's see who we like, and how many guys there are, where they're at, what their strengths and weaknesses are. And in the end, just for Ryan and I to just discuss all of this and come up with this decision together that we wanted to do this. That's what's really neat is that. So you guys know, you've seen all the highlights on Justin and his strengths and who he is on the field. But I think what everybody will see as he grows as a player in person is who he is, whether it's in meetings with you guys, with interviews, and then obviously on the grass, what he can do.
Adam Hogue.
Yeah, Matt, Ryan mentioned to us that you talked to Andy on Thursday night. How did that conversation go, and what do you feel like is his mentality right now going in?
Yeah, you know what, Adam, I had two conversations on Thursday. I had one earlier in the day that just catching up with him, seeing how he's doing, but also just explaining to him that, there's so many different things that could happen. And, I think that's very important to discuss. Hey, we don't know even at that time what could go on. And that was great catching up with them. And then when we went ahead and moved up and got Justin later on that evening, I thought it's very important to talk to Andy and just explain where we're at. Every one of you on the call, including myself, would probably want the same phone call to know what's going on, why it's going on, where things are at. And Andy is a hell of a person. And we've built a great relationship already in the short time that we've been together. And I just got too much respect for him. And that's just how we do things around here. And I think that I'm really looking forward to seeing him be the best quarterback he can be. And he handled it as a true pro. And he's a complete teammate. He's a great person. And he's always been that way. So that's just kind of where we're at, and I appreciate that from him.
Larry Mayer.
Matt, I just wanted to ask you about Justin Fields as well. What attributes about him as a player excite you the most? And I know you also touched on this in terms of when you found out you were able to get him, but when it was possible and you realized that it was reality, just you personally, what was your reaction? What were you thinking?
Yeah, there's a lot of different emotions that go through you. And again, for Justin, who is he as a player? Well, we can all see that he's a complete quarterback that has in a ton of intangibles. He's a threat every time the football is in his hands as a passer and a runner, but yet he makes really good decisions. He's played in big time moments. He's one of the, toughest quarterbacks. And I've been around a lot of tough quarterbacks, but he's definitely up there in regards to his experience at the college level. And I think he hangs his hat on that. And as we all grow with him, I think we're going to sense that he really has a little bit of that it factor to him too, which is neat, and so that has to come naturally to everybody, and some have it, some don't. And I think that for him, it's going to be exciting for him to just come in here and learn how to be a professional quarterback. It's not going to happen overnight. He's going to be able to learn from great coaches and from great players that are going to be in the same room from him. And he knows that. And I think that's the part of Justin, is that he's super mature. He's very focused, but he's competitive as hell. And sometimes that pushes people, and I think it certainly pushes him, but he does it in a respectful way, and he's had a lot of success doing it.
Brad Biggs.
Hey guys, I was wondering if you each could possibly talk about what the challenges you believe are going to face the defense this coming season.
The challenges that our defense.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't able to get a ton through the draft. Everyone knows why you did what you did. You know, with the group that Sean's got, as you look at it right now, what challenges does that unit face?
Well, I think before Ryan goes, I would just say, first of all, I think sometimes just the way it goes in the draft, there's obviously certain ways or maybe things that Ryan looks for as we discuss things. He wants to attack and go, and then it goes certain ways, and there's things that are in your control and not in your control. But I know this, in regards to our roster and what we have defensively, we do feel really, really good about the players that we have really on this entire roster, not just on defense. And so Sean has done a phenomenal job here in the offseason of getting with the coaches and those guys talking schematically with our personnel and our players. Now we have a really good idea who our players are as coaches with going through free agency and the draft. And it's our job now to put the scheme together and let these guys go play fast.
Yeah, Brad, I would add to that just the talent that we have on defense and the moves we've made there over the years. And you talked about, Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson and Hicks and Roquan and Trevathan, and you can go on. And then I think, some of the moves we made in free agency this year, Brad, helped us a lot leading into this draft with Trufant, Angelo Blackson, Atachu, Christian Jones re-signing Gibson was big for us. So I felt like we attacked a lot of that in free agency, and it really truly opened up the draft for best player. And as you know, Brad, you just kind of go the way the board goes sometimes, and it happened to lean a little bit more offense this year.
Adam Johns.
Hey, Matt, question for you about that Chiefs plan that you guys had for Patrick. I imagine that took some level of patience or commitment to patience back then. But I'm curious, how much did it actually help you guys in that plan that Alex Smith was there and actually playing well? And then how important is it to maybe stay patient here just in case, Andy has some ups and downs this season?
No, that's a good question, Adam. We were back then, I think in our fourth or fifth year with Alex. I think it was our fifth year. And so it was a little different in that fact. But when I bring up that example or that blueprint that Ryan and I talk about, it's more so probably of just the dynamics of the meeting room and how those conversations went, and how the personalities were of Alex and Patrick at the beginning and how it ended in the end. Just the way that year went, how it was at practice, how different reps were, and there's just so much that goes into it. And so that's a part of the blueprint. And, but again, you look at a guy like Andy Dalton and his experience and the time he's seen, that part is extremely similar to Alex at the same point in their career where Andy's seen every defense made to man. He's watched a lot of tape. He's seen a lot of different schemes that people throw at him. He's been in playoff games. He's done a lot of things the right way. And so how great is that for a young rookie to come on in and learn from a guy like him and Nick Foles and see there's things that he can take from them and really put into his toolbox and use to make him be the greatest quarterback he can possibly be. And so the timing element of Justin, we will know, and there's observations from all of us as coaches every single day. And just like we would tell any quarterback, when you come in here, you do everything you can to be the best quarterback you can be, whether it's in the meeting room or whether it's in practice, and everything else will take care of itself. And all of those guys are going to do it. And then, we just got to decide then when we get to that point, how is he developing and how is everybody doing? And really keeping it as honest as possible with all of those guys. And then when the time is right, I promise you, every single person will know, including Justin, when it's the right time. And that's naturally how it happens.
How about Nick's role in this, just in terms of, you have a Super Bowl winner there, but I'm curious, what do you see his input being? Like, what do you envision his role with Justin being?
Extremely valuable. Again, you guys know I have a really good relationship with Nick. Nick and I have had some really good conversations, healthy conversations since the end of the season. Nick is his mindset right now. He's in a really, really good place. And all he wants to do is be the best teammate he can be the best player he can be, support all of us. And we want to support him. So I've been there I've seen Nick in a lot of different roles. I've seen how he handles things. And we all know as coaches that we're all going to work for each other. There's no selfishness. We're all here to help the Chicago Bears win a Super Bowl, and we need to do it together. And all three of those quarterbacks in that room, Andy, Nick, and Justin, are all unbelievable people, right? And they all have their own experiences, and they're all different, but they're all going to help each other. And then you take that along with our coaching staff and the coaches that are going to be hands-on with those three guys, with John DeFilippo and Bill Lazor. And it's a really, really great environment for all of those guys. And when you look at a young guy like Justin, I've been with Flip for a long time, and I've watched him develop quarterbacks, and I've seen the way that, what he does it and how he does it. And I have a ton of belief in him as a position coach / passing game coordinator. And I have a ton of belief in Bill Lazor with quarterbacks as well. So that's the exciting part for me. That's where there's a lot of trust in this development part, which is so big. We need to develop not just Justin, but all of these guys that we just drafted, along with every other player that's on this team.
Jason Leisure.
Matt, I have two questions for you about Justin Fields. One, quickly, did you have him in your evaluations? Did you have him above Wilson and Lance? Well,
so a couple of things, and I've always been this way. I think you guys know it, even dating back to 2017. But I'm not going to get into any of my rankings or where we're at. But I think that all five of those quarterbacks in that first round are very good quarterbacks.
And well, as far as developing Justin, how do you find the line? I don't think you've ever coached a quarterback with his skill set, unless I'm wrong. Have you?
Well, I would say this. I've coached a lot of different quarterbacks. I started as a young coach in Philadelphia with Donovan McNabb as a quality control coach. I've been with Kevin Kolb. I've been with a rookie in Nick Foles. I've been with Michael Vick. I've been with Alex Smith. I've been with Trent Edwards, from my prior to the Bears, right? Patrick Mahomes, as a rookie. So many different scenarios. They're all different. And that's what makes it so much fun, is for me to say, okay, here we are. Now it's Andy, you got Nick, you got Justin, you got all these guys that are great quarterbacks. And the development part is, how do we put a plan together to get the best of all three of those guys? And so that's, for me, the fun part. And they all have their strengths and weaknesses, as we do as coaches.
So how do you balance refining Justin into what you envision as an ideal quarterback, but also maintaining what has gotten him to this point, what has made him so successful and made you guys fall in love with him this week?
Yeah, that's really good question. And here's how I'd answer that is, part of that process is going to be for us as coaches. The development part with Justin is making sure that, he's getting, reps, the repetitions. Where is he getting those reps? How is he getting them? Where's the extra work coming in? The film study. And we're not at that part yet as a coaching staff. We're going to sit down, and now we know who we have and where they're at. We can sit down and really put together a schedule and a plan of how this is going to get done. And that's the part where, again, I think Ryan mentioned this to you guys the other night or other day, the example of some of these college quarterbacks that do a lot of no huddle. Is they're looking over to their coaches and they're getting signals and signs and all this stuff. They're coming in and they're standing there. They give a knee, or they clap their hand, or they fake clap their hand, and the ball snapped. It's a little different when you get to the NFL. And I think he told you the story, but I always remember when Patrick came in rookie camp and he got in the first huddle and he was never in a huddle before. And he started screaming the plays and the defense could hear it on the other side because he never called a play call in the huddle before. Those are the little things that we all think we can just get up and do that these kids haven't done. Getting a snap from under center and doing different things there. So those small little processes take time. Once we get that, you can play faster and faster. And so going back to your question, Jason, there's going to have to be a really good plan in place to make sure that we can see that development.
We have time for a couple more. Mark Potash.
Hey, Ryan, I want to circle back to Tevin Jenkins. A couple questions. A lot of tackles drafted in his range become starters as rookies. I'm wondering, is that a fair expectation for Tevin? And also, when you said he could play on the left side, what does that mean for Charles Leno? You know, with the cap situation being what it is there some uncertainty about Charles being on the roster come training camp?
Yeah, you know, we see obviously we have high expectations for him. He has starting ability, and really with him and Larry, what we liked about both of them, Mark, is they can play both sides. They can play guard. There's just so much versatility. So we went into this draft, and Matt and I said it. We looked at the entirety of the draft, and we looked at the depth of offensive linemen and said, man, if we don't come away improving our offensive line, then shame on us, and we really thought that we could attack it that way. And it was important for us to do that. So adding Tevin and Larry are big time additions for us. And, Mark, we'll just let it battle out.
But do you see if you see Tevin as a starter this year, could it be on the left side?
It could be anywhere on our offensive line. It could be on either side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Colleen Kane.
Hey, Matt, I just wanted to ask you about Tevin Jenkins. What do you like about him as a player and as a person?
Yeah, well, as a player, I love his playing demeanor. I think that we watched a lot of guys on the offensive line, as every other position, but speaking with him directly, I really love the way he run blocks. I thought that really jumped out to us as we were evaluating him. He's stout in pass protection. You love his attitude. I think you guys have got a little bit of a taste of that with what his personality is. I mean, you got to always appreciate a little bit of that with these guys, and but he's also willing to learn, and we have the ability. Ryan did a really good job of just really the background and using all of our sources to talk to different people at Oklahoma State to find out more and more about Tevin, and everything that just kept coming back to us just talked about the toughness of him, his work ethic, who he is as a person, both on and off the field, what he is as a teammate. You love who he is as a teammate. He's going to work hard. He knows that Juan is going to just absolutely grind him with teaching him fundamentals and develop him. And so all you got to do is put on the tape and see how he plays, and you got to love it.
Last one, Hub Arkush.
Ryan, I hate to do this to you tonight. You guys probably feel like you just went 15 rounds with the champ, but clearly there are cap issues. You got to get these kids signed now, and there's still a lot of good veteran free agents out there. So what are your priorities now? What happens now for you over the next few weeks, month? How do you go about finishing off this roster?
Yeah, right now, Hub, we're full speed college free agency right now. I really challenge our scouts on making sure we nail that, and that's going on as we speak. So after that, we'll kind of take a deep breath, and there's some things that Joey and I know that we need to do as we look at our cap and our situation, and we have plans in place for that, and those are kind of the next steps, before we're able to kind of take a deep breath. But I would just say that you make me think of that, Hub, when you talk about our cap, is I don't talk about Joey Lane enough and the job that he does for us, and I've been with him for almost 20 years now. And when I go through a draft like this with Joey right by my side, and he's outstanding with these trades, and he spends so much time and effort into it, like he's kind of a under the radar guy for us. That's really big with what we do, really important to our team. So I can't say enough about Joey Lane. So just a quick shout out to him.
Just real quick to follow up, Ryan, if I can. I'm not asking for names, but will you continue to look at street vets as well?
Of course. Yeah. There's guys on our board right now, Hub, that we're still looking at. So, there's got, yeah, to answer your question, yes. You know, and then there's guys still that we have targeted with other teams that could be potential cuts or potential trades that we're watching closely.
Thanks.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Ryan. We're all set.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Media, if we hop over to the players Zoom call, we're going to have Tonga, the defensive lineman from BYU in the 7th round. We'll have him on shortly. Thank you.